Hey guys, I'm hoping these videos are helping you to make small, simple changes that can add up to really make a difference to our planet and our environment. This week, we're going to look at one really simple way that we can reduce our food waste. In UK households alone, we waste about 6.6 million tonnes of food each year. And 70% of the food that we throw away was still edible, could have actually been eaten. This edible element of our household food waste is responsible for as much greenhouse gas produced as flying from London to Perth about 4.5 million times. Globally, food waste accounts for 8 to 10% of our annual greenhouse gas emissions. And just to compare that, aviation actually only accounts for 3% of our emissions. A super simple way that I try to control my food waste is just by keeping a meal plan. Planning my meals each week means I only buy the food that I need for those meals, and therefore little to no food actually goes to waste. I have a spreadsheet where I plan out all my meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that week. And then on a separate sheet, I have a list of all the ingredients that each of those meals need, and they can go straight onto my shopping list. This means I can control portion sizes so I don't cook too much, because there is only 2 of us. But if I do end up having leftovers, I tend to eat them for lunch the next day or freeze them up and keep them for a meal later on in the week. I'll admit that meal planning felt like a bit of a chore at the start, spending ages deciding what meals we were going to have, scrolling through recipes, flicking through cookbooks. However, once we got to know the meals that we enjoy and settled into a bit of a pattern, it actually became really quite quick and easy to plan a full week's shop. Planning in this way also makes sure that I use everything that I already have. So when I sit down to write my list, I'll pop to the cupboards, I'll check the fridge, see what I've got in there so I don't re-buy anything, but also I don't let anything go to waste. A good example of this is on a Friday night, me and the hubby really quite enjoy a cheeky vegan mac and cheese with a little bit of kale on the side. But the kale on the side, really, I only use half of the packet. So what I make sure is I plan in to make loads of tasty kale crisps that we can snack on over the weekend, but also it means the kale doesn't go to waste. This also means I don't end up with multiple packets and jars that I'm just never going to get round to using before the use by date. As I only shop once a week, I just make sure the meals at the start of the week make use of the fresher ingredients or those ingredients with a shorter use by or sell by date, just making sure I use it all before it expires. Like with most of my previous sustainable swaps, there are even more benefits to shopping or meal planning like this, in addition to reducing food waste. People who meal plan tend to make fewer trips to the shops. They tend to make healthier choices and spend a little bit less on their shop. Maybe because they're not distracted by all the amazing offers and deals that you see once you go into the shop, or maybe you're not resorting to shopping when you're hungry after a full day's work. If I'm really honest, meal planning is something I've done for years, well before I started my journey to being a bit more sustainable. I used to be a secondary school teacher and I just did not have the energy to come home and worry about what I'm going to have for dinner that night. And actually, sometimes that meant I would resort to skipping meals, which is not good at all, or I would just pick up a grab-and-go sandwich or a snack from the shop on the way home. So I wasn't really keeping myself nourished. Whilst I've not used them myself, I would imagine there's lots of apps out there that can make meal planning a little bit easier, perhaps a little bit more fun. Of course, this might not work for everybody, especially if you have a larger household with a wide variety of tastes and food preferences. However, for me, my hubby and my dog, it's just a really nice way to reduce the food that we are throwing away and wasting, and it also just gives us peace of mind of knowing what we're going to eat that week. Do you plan your meals? Do you have a lovely handwritten shopping list, or do you use technology or an app of some kind to help you plan? Let me know in the comments.